What you're saying is just the ability to even go there with someone, it's not easy to do. It only happens with a few people that you
Yes, that go into that pure state. And you really don't want to work with someone that's really vulnerable. And the more intelligent you are, a lot of people think you have to be dumb to be hypnotized. The more intelligent you are, the easier it is to be hypnotized because you know the value of it and you follow instructions. So
participation again,
yes,
right? That's
yeah.
what makes it easier. Okay.
So all I am is a guide. You're doing the work. A lot of people would say, oh God, I did a lot of work because we're hitting stuff that are deep and releasing. And sometimes they feel like nothing, and then all of a sudden I get a call a week later, God, I feel great. I haven't even thought of a cigarette, or I had this one little girl come for me for, I think it was anxiety attack. She would be going to the hospital a couple times a week for anxiety attacks. And when she first came, she was very gothic and dark, and we did the work. I don't remember exactly what we did, but she was supposed to come in for a follow-up, and I'm like, oh, she's late. She didn't call me or whatever. But then all of a sudden I see this little girl in a little flower dress and little light makeup, and she says, everyone says I've changed.
Wow,
So
that's
I think
profound.
we released a spirit, an entity, and a past life thing at that time. Lots of times I worked with plenty of people where I connect them with their higher selves. I love to tell the story of my nephew. I don't know if he even remembers, but he used to be willing to let me hypnotize him. And the very first time I connected him with his higher self, we'd go on this visual and we connected to this pure self, this God self. And then as they merge, and you could feel all that energy of being a part of God. Mm-hmm. But then we bring them to a pond and we have them dive in or to see what part of him is holding or blocking that God self from being realized on this earth. And then we go that way. That was one of the journeys. So we did that. He was going to make a move, and he wanted more confidence about moving out to California, and he didn't have a job, but he had a friend. And got a coaching job as for the swim team at UCLA. And then he went and interned for Paramount, I think it was DreamWorks. Nice. And he worked for free. He just did it. I mean, he worked for our company, and so he had the training on sales, and he just believed in himself, and he's talented already. After 6 months, he would go and say, I'm so-and-so, if you need me, I'm so-and-so, if you need me, call me. He'd do everything, run for coffee, do whatever, because he just wanted to learn. There were amazing directors, producer, and he was just soaking it up. And then they got bought out by Paramount, and they were firing and letting go because he wasn't getting paid. He stayed. And then they gave him a position. And then before that, he's executive producer. And then the company closed down during the pandemic. He came back home and opened his own company. And he was doing Facebook Live, doing shows for them, and how he's his own producer. But in hypnosis, I took him to the future. We also could take you to the future. And he saw himself producing his own TV show or movie at that time. And he didn't have any experience. Because he was my nephew, I got to see the progression of stuff. And he's very successful, very happy, loving life. And there was many other people who've done like that. So it's just amazing. Wow. I wish I could be my own hypnotist. I can, but it's different when you have someone, because sometimes they hit snags or stuff they don't want to look at or not deal with. And so I hold the space for them. And sometimes that's why a lot of hypnotists are not as good, because they give up right away. You have to find a doorway to the inner sanctum of their mind. And it's not always revealed. There's many pathways to the inner mind, and you have to find that. But back in the day, one of my teachers says hypnosis doesn't work. He's into energy work. But I guess I did energy work back then, and I was very intuitive, and I would see things, I would see colors around them, I would do healing on them. And sometimes, I remember once I worked on an editor of a big magazine or newspaper. He went to everybody, and I used to get fed by this other hypnotist that gave me the last chance saloon, you know, it was the bottom of the barrel he would give me. And being new, you just do it, you know. And he was so hard. He was so wanting to be in control. So I just didn't do hypnosis. I just did laying with the hands and healing on him. And he went out, and then we asked him a couple questions, and we merged them. He said, "My God, I felt like I just been having. You just gave me a happy pill." He was suicidal.
Oh my God.
And he sent me a lot of people from all over. I had people flying in to work with me. He wanted to work with Superman at the time, one of the editors of another magazine, but I said, I'm not going to solicit someone. If you want to connect them with me, who played Superman that had the...
Christopher Reeve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have worked with athletes. I worked with Power 96 radio station. I hypnotized the sales staff, and they had the highest month in the history of their company. But I had a manager that helped facilitate the mindset. He was great. And we did a trade. They gave me a big commercial, phenomenal commercial, but it wasn't my audience. I was like a hotline for all the kids, middle school and high school, that were having problems. And I couldn't work with them because they're underage. I asked their parents, you know, call your parents, or there was a lot of bullying go on, and, you know, got to talk to someone. And so I was like a self-help group, a phone call for these kids. But the parents, like, my kid doesn't need anything. My kid don't. I said, they called, you know, it was such a cool thing for a middle school, high school hypnosis. And the commercial was phenomenal with the music. It was a pop station, and so they had problems from, you know, weight, being, mostly bullied, or, you know, feeling like they had to belong to a gang and they didn't want to belong to a gang, and just, or problems with their parents too. That was different, you know, send them to the guidance counselor. But that was interesting.